Your NCAA women's bracket also revealed, and it's a little surprise. The #1 overall seed in the women's bracket, UCLA. It's the first time in school history the Bruins have claimed the top overall spot. UCLA lost just 2 games during the regular season, both to USC. Here's a look at the remainder of your 1 seeds. SC well represented. They consist of reigning national title winners in South Carolina, Texas, and the aforementioned Trojans. For more, we turn to our leading voice in women's hoops, Terrika Foster-Brasby, here to give us a little bit of everything as we assess this bracket. I mean, UCLA, we got to start there. It's our top overall seed. We saw them get revenge over USC in the Big Ten championship game. Now the Bruins are a 1 seed for the first time in team history. How do you feel about their path to the Final Four when you look at the rest of the area?
Yeah, well, I think they should feel good. Their bracket looks incredibly favorable. You know, I wasn't surprised that UCLA got the #1 overall seed. I think everyone, or most of us, suspected that they would when you think about the historic season that they put together for their program, coupled with being the #1 team in the country for 12 straight weeks. They had a great 15-point win over South Carolina, huge comeback against USC to win the Big Ten. So it made sense. But I will say I understand the point that Coach Dawn Staley was making in the post-election, where she was talking about a bit of a disappointment that the Gamecocks may be feeling. Coach Staley intentionally schedules some of the toughest non-conference matchups, and most of the time better than other teams. And so for the last number of years, they've been incredibly successful in those games. So it's fair criticism for them to say, you know, our schedule obviously feels as if it won't make a difference, and so we need to focus on maybe adjusting. But to her point, you know, unfortunately this year, those early mistakes in November and January kind of led the committee to believe that UCLA was the better team. And so they've earned it.
Hey, sometimes you got to put the chip on your own shoulder. Other times they put it there for you. So let's go on South Carolina. They enter as a 1 seed for the 5th straight season. Our winner last year. We haven't a repeat champion since Breanna Stewart's UConn teams. So when you look at the Gamecocks, obviously the pedigree is there. The coaching is there. But do they have all that it takes to be a repeat champion in your eyes?
Listen, regardless of seeding, regardless of everything that I just said 5 seconds ago, South Carolina is still the favorite, okay? They are the standard in women's basketball. They've been a dominant program, and they know that the mission, and the only mission, is to be the only team left standing at the beginning of April. I think what makes South Carolina so difficult to stop and why they are the favorite is simply because you don't know which player to focus in on. They have so many weapons. And so when I look at that regional 2 bracket that they're in, there really isn't a team that stands out to me where I immediately say they're the team that's going to challenge the way the Gamecocks excel in the post, or that they can slow down Malaysia Phil Wiley, or that they can penetrate Raven Johnson's defense. I think outside of Camila Cardoso leaving last year, that core group from that championship team is still there. There's more parity in women's basketball than ever before, but it's not far-fetched to think South Carolina can repeat.
Yeah, you can always see them cutting down nets when you try and picture it in your mind's eye, the current standard. Let's pivot to the former standard in the UConn Huskies. Haven't won a tourney since 2016, but might be the hottest team in the sport, coming off 10 consecutive victories, including a statement blowout over South Carolina. How do you think they fare in USC's region of the bracket?
You know, I think this is honestly UConn's best shot at winning a national title, probably their best shot in a long time. They shocked a lot of people last year as the 3 seed, getting to the Final Four. And honestly, if we had seen a different call on Nika Mule, they might have been in the national championship. But that team was also very injury-ridden and very fatigued. This time around, outside of Paige Beckers, who's made it clear this is her final season in college, the Huskies also have Azzi Fudd back, who is a dangerous scoring threat. We've seen freshman Sarah Strong really flourish as a post player this year. She may even win Freshman of the Year. So UConn had to be feeling good about their odds heading into the bracket unveiling. And then we see they're in the same region as USC. So if all things hold true, we could potentially be seeing a USC-UConn rematch yet again in the Elite 8. And I think all of us probably wanted to see that in the Final Four, maybe see them duke it out there. But I think the sense of urgency lies on UConn this time around.
It's likely to come down to some of those bigger brands when it's all said and done, Final Four time. But it's the madness of March. It's about the upset as well, and there's some intriguing upset candidates this season, including the Ivy League, sending 3 teams to the madness for the first time. Who do you think is a surprise team to keep an eye on in these early rounds to pull off an upset or two?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Joe, gone are the days where first round upsets rarely happen in women's basketball. So my first stop in that region one, I look at Michigan State versus number 10 Harvard. Harvard could be a very dangerous team. Harmony Turner played incredible in that Ivy tourney. She dropped 44 points against Princeton in the semis. All season long, she's been one of the top players in the country. She led the conference in steals. And one reason that Michigan State fell short in that Big Ten tournament was turnovers. So this could be a dangerous matchup for Sparty. I think there's maybe one other matchup that I thought was a potential nail biter, and that was USF and Tennessee. I think that, South Florida played one of the best non-conference schedules in the country. They handed Duke a loss in late December, won the AAC tournament. And so when I look at Tennessee coming into this tournament, losing 3 of their last 4, I think it sets up an opportunity for USF to play spoiler.
That's a couple to keep circled all season long. We've had a few names circle, and it feels like more names than usual. Possible contenders, teams that, again, you can envision at the top of that ladder. Who do you think makes the Final Four, and who do you have winning it all?
Okay, so let me share with you why I am probably going to be wrong, because I always am. So UCLA, I think, is a good lock. I've got South Carolina. I think that's a good lock. I'm going to go on a limb and say UConn gets a little bit of revenge this year in an Elite 8 matchup against USC that will propel them to the Final Four. And a team we didn't really talk about much, TCU. I think the regional bracket in the regional 3 bracket is one to watch. Texas, TCU, and Notre Dame are all in there, and they're going to make this region really tough. So TCU is a team I think may excel out of that Birmingham 3 bracket.
The outcome, it's fine. The process, the analysis, it's what we're here for. Terrika Foster-Brasby, appreciation as always here as we get excited for tourney time.
Thanks.
All right, here's a look at your odds to win the national title. That UConn heater, it's well accounted for. Co-favorites alongside South Carolina at +270. Next behind UCLA, some value there at 5-1 if you like the Bruins to get the job done. Again, your top overall seed residing at UCLA.